Hey everyone, you made it to our show, Oak Road Diaries. It's a podcast where we get to take a journey into the lives of different experts and we get to explore their roots and their own self-care practices.
In each episode, we dive deep into their personal philosophies, daily rituals, and transformative experiences from their lives, which offer all of us valuable insights and practical tips for our own well-being.
Join us as we uncover the wisdom behind intentional living, one story at a time. On this episode of Oak Road Diaries, we sit down with a man who's redefining what it means to take care of yourself, not with filters or fluff, but with honesty, grit, and heart.
Our guest, Scott Tatum, is the creator and voice behind Self-Care Savage, a movement that challenges the way we see healing, self-worth, and personal responsibility. His work reaches millions by reminding us that growth begins the moment we stop hiding from ourselves.
After years of confronting his own struggles, Scott found peace not in perfection, but in presence. Out on the trail beneath open skies, he discovered that self-care isn't a trend, it's survival. It's about choosing truth over comfort and learning to stand firm in your own worth.
Through his storytelling, outdoor adventures, and unapologetic honesty, Scott's built a community rooted in resilience and radical self-awareness. His message is simple but powerful. Real self-care requires showing up, especially when it's hard.
We'll explore what it means to rebuild trust with yourself, to set boundaries that protect your peace, and to find healing in the quiet places where the world falls away.
This is Scott Tatum. This is the Self-Care Savage.
Welcome, Scott Tatum, to Oak Road Diaries. He is our self-care savage guru. On our show today, we are going to talk about your entire journey, Scott. How and where did you come from, and where are you going? You are our, I guess, the nomad guru, right? Would that be accurate?
Well, first of all, y'all, thank y'all for having me on here. So I do want to say that a little over 18 months ago, I stopped doing podcasts, interviews, any kind of brand deal. I just stopped everything because of some things that were changing, and we can get into that later. But this is my first podcast.
Okay.
That I'm doing, that I'm starting to allow myself to do, going back into this, and so I just want to let y'all know that that's not like, hey, you're privileged or anything like that. That's just letting you know, I've kind of taken myself out of the cycle for a minute, but now, I appreciated you guys and looked, I always look through people's stuff. I don't work with anybody or talk to really anybody anymore, on this kind of stuff unless I feel it.
That's super interesting, man.
Feeling it,
because
you guys got beards, for one thing. Right?
I was going to say we all look alike, right? We might as well make it a trio.
No, I'm kidding. So I just wanted to kind of interject that, and I am way by far a guru, and I don't tell anybody what to do. Here's what I do. I do this for me, put it out there to help whoever I can. And so I just want to, again, it's hard for me to take that any kind of a title like that on.
I get that. I understand. We appreciate you, man, because it's a big deal for us. Our platform is set upon literally just authenticity. All these people out there that are trying to make the world different. And you kind of already said it in our intro before, where we're not trying to change the world. We're trying to change ourselves first. It's kind of interesting how Jared and I, we were on this journey, and we just wanted to share it with the world. We wanted to share these self-care practices that nobody else, we're not trying to reinvent it. We're just trying to get it out there in a different way and a different light to really connect with people. And you kind of mentioned a little bit with the social media world, and it's just so overwhelming and so daunting. These people that are doing all these different yoga things and influencers just in general, you don't know who's authentic and you don't know what's what. And are these people really living this self-care world? Are they actually better people? Are they helping the world become better? Who knows, right? It's all subjective when it comes to that. So when you meet people such as yourself and other guests that we've had on there, we hope that we're portraying authenticity, that we're truly just trying to meet you and others like you to see how can we implement your self-care practices into our normal everyday lives. Like Jared and I, we live hectic lives like many others out there. So we're just trying to do our best to shed light and to change it one person at a time with what we're doing in our own life. So I think what's really interesting is that we can connect with people like you and to really understand your background, right? Like a lot of people, we talk about your accolades and what you're doing out there, but we want to know who our guests are. Like who is Scott as a kid? Whatever you're willing to shed light on and share, with your personal life, we would love to go all the way back as best as we can in your past, which is interesting because my first question is in your awesome book, if anyone hasn't bought it yet, it's called Friendly Reminders, um, Lessons from a Self-Care Savage by Scott Tatum. And I believe it's 140 or so daily friendly reminders of basically getting your ass out there and being a different person and trying to grow as an individual. You talk a lot about in this book about the past, removing yourself from the past. And it's interesting because I'm asking you about your past. If you're willing to shed light on, how did you get to where you're at?
Yeah, absolutely. So, first on a couple things on that. So when victim mentality is running rampant. Victim mentality to me is anyways, it's just everywhere. It's exhibited everywhere. You are again, I could get into all these things, but to getting back to your question. So when I first started doing things on social media 10, 12 years ago, and just throwing things out that I needed to hear, I just read something that's helped me, whatever. And then if I talked about things further, I always talked about my past still as a victim. I, I talked about it as a victim. I talked about it still blaming, still getting all angry and all charged up when I started talking about something that was, my dad or whatever. And I needed to go through that. And a lot of my followers that have watched me for years have seen some of this transition. And I don't talk about my past anymore. I'm an open book. I'll talk about anything, but I talk about it from a different place now. And I don't know if y'all have noticed on any of my social media lately, especially the last 4 to 6 months, I've really turned to this piece now, just like know your worth or something like that. Now it's a healed life. I'm living a healed life. I'm not 100% healed from all this past stuff. I still have things that come up, but they don't set in anymore. They don't
The
get to,
emotional aspects, right? They're
they
basically
can
just
come,
factual is what you're saying.
yeah,
They're
well,
just
or
events that have happened.
my anxiety and my kind of stuff has always been in the mornings, as an example, because I was always living behind the 8 ball and on everything. So I woke up and with the demons were jumping out from everywhere, you know, um, trying to disrupt everything, in which they were very successful for decades. Um, but kind of moving back to the whole thing is when you start understanding where things come from, you start dealing with them and taking them apart at whatever you need to do with it or how you need to do it. And I don't ever suggest that anybody do things the way I did by running out into the woods for weeks at a time and
Many
beating
of us would
yourself up
love
on
to.
trails and just wanting to go through that process. But you got to figure out what to do. That's the other part I try to hammer on anybody. It's one of my other things right now. I'm starting to really push is, find your way, find a way,
Mhm.
shut up, find a
Yep.
way. It, look, I never healed or did anything passively. For me, this is for me. I don't, the pat on the backs or somebody patting my knee and saying, oh, that's, let's talk about it some more. Maybe, let's take a break. Maybe you should take a break and, and then come back to it later. Look, I don't have time for that. When I didn't start doing any of this, I'm 64. I didn't start doing anything or even thinking about anything until I was north of 50. Well,
Interesting.
I don't have time. I just, so I just went at it myself. And I can give you other background on that. I had some understanding experience of things, but um that's where I was at. And so talking about the past is not an issue anymore. And what I mean by that, and the other beautiful thing about healing, and I keep stressing this for people because nobody talks, a lot of people don't talk about this, is when you heal, all that pain and all that victim stuff and all that stuff you kept laying on top of that over the years, all around you, all that did was cover up all the good stuff. So
Sure did.
year after year, you stay a victim and blame and keep going. You keep getting further away from those things that
Yeah, like who you really
actually
are.
were good things, even through all you were going through. My dad was my monster from age 0 to 7. As soon as I hit the ground, he was an alcohol fueled mess himself. And very early on, I was his target, me and my mom. Um, that's not a pleasant environment to be in. My trauma is my trauma. And, I had, when I hit the ground, whatever self-esteem I hit the ground with was gone immediately. My name is Scott, of course. But I used to think for years and years and years growing up that I don't know if y'all, this is an old man's, and you can cut any of this stuff out, but this is an older generation's term. But besides my name being Scott, I thought my name
What?
was
No.
Titty Baby.
What is it? I don't know what titty baby.
Okay.
I actually
I
don't.
don't know if y'all understand what that is.
Oh yeah, I know what that is.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
is
I've heard of it.
your
Yeah.
mama's boy.
Yep.
But that's the way it was phrased in a very derogatory way. It's not, hey, mama's boy, come here and say, hey, titty baby.
Hmm.
That's what my dad referred to me as so much. Now, anyways, my point is like taking an example like that is I just there was never anything that my dad wasn't but the devil. But he actually was. And, when you start dealing with things, he's been dead 22 years or whatever, but when you start dealing with things and trying to understand things, I always suggest people do your homework. Look, part of healing is history. And if you want to know where it came from and whoever was your perpetrator or perpetrators in the sense of bringing upon the trauma on you or putting all those negative thoughts in your head or whatever things you went through, understand that maybe they didn't have a chance. Forgiveness is not letting people off the hook. I don't let my dad off the hook, but I know my dad's history. Went in the Navy when he was 15, ran away, lied about his age because he's hungry. His mom, my grandma used to tie him and his brother to the house when they were 2, 3, 4 years old so they wouldn't go knock on the neighbors' doors asking for food.
What age did you learn about his history?
This is all within the last 10 years.
Okay. All right.
Now, I knew kind of where he came from, but I didn't know these stories. And I didn't know, and as I went through things, he was also shipped. So again, we'll fast forward this. So understanding that from the beginning, how he grew up, and then he joined the Navy, reasons why. And can you imagine, I can't imagine, we were poor when I was young for a while, but at 15, joining, the Navy,
Yes.
doing something, lying about your age, doing all that from a small little town in Texas,
Jeez.
because he's hungry.
Sure.
Anyways,
Yeah.
but fast forward, he gets out of the Navy when he's 19. He gets on with a construction company. They build the
Heck
power
yeah.
lines. All the old power lines. With the
Yeah.
little bulbs that used to be on them across the country. And so he was a lineman for that. But it's getting in the construction world. It's a very manly world, and those guys drink. Those guys gamble. And those guys back then, a lot of them in that part, they ran around. They weren't faithful, trustworthy men a lot of times, especially when they were drinking and gambling and doing all that stuff. So, but just roll back to the Navy real quick. One of the big events I found that affected so many servicemen in the World War II was he was shipwrecked. He was floating around the damn ocean for
Jeez.
almost
Holy
3
smokes.
days before they got picked up in very
So he was in World
frigid
War
cold
II?
waters, all that kind of deal. Well, I think doing everything and looking at all
Oh my
that
gosh.
event,
He's a
he was
kid
just
himself.
16 then.
My goodness.
And so so you get into that. Now he's growing into life. And so again, he just not naturally, but he becomes an alcoholic. He doesn't talk about anything.
Yeah, he's closed up.
He
That makes
never
sense.
did. So he
Yeah.
grows into this person. And that's not all of him. But
Well,
that's
he had
what
no
you see as a
fatherly influence
kid.
either, right? Yep. That's all you know as a kid, right?
No, he did. He did, but not at at a
Yeah.
level that was appropriate. But you got to remember too. One of the things a lot of people don't forgive. A lot of our greatest generation is what they used to call it. Is that's just the way it was.
Right.
Just
Yeah, different time, right?
depression. It was you got everybody's got to pitch in on the farm. All these kind of things got to happen. And there's not a lot of that anymore. That's not just really hardcore generational, and it is
Right.
a pretty nice lifestyle for a lot of those people. But here's where I'm getting to the part where after understanding all this, and as I'm going through my healing, as I'm putting together the pieces, all these negative voices in my head, and all these things are not mine. They're not mine. All these years I'm taking them on as they're mine. You're an idiot. You're stupid. You can't do anything. You got no self-worth. Nobody wants to listen to you, talk to you. Everything that you want to talk about goes through your head. But that was all from, mainly from him.
What
And
was there anything in your healing process where you're like, I got to go back to my past, or was it just a gradual as you were healing, these things kind of evolved, or was it like a black and white type of hard, I need to go back to my past because of these direct things that were actually
it
happening?
was both.
Okay.
And look, I always tell everybody, you can't fix anything unless you know where it comes from. No,
Yeah,
unless if you
absolutely.
don't know what it is, nobody can heal. You're going to have to jump back there for a minute.
Yep.
But the deal is,
It's painful, right? That's the biggest thing you
it's
hear about
painful,
this.
but here's
It's
the
super
deal.
painful for a lot of people.
Here's the payoff.
Hmm.
You jump back there, understanding why you're going back there. Okay, where's this coming from? Again, you get into the journaling and things like that where you start connecting dots. A lot of these things are happening that go, oh, dang. Now I remember my mom used to tell me that. And then you go back and you go through your little episodes around, oh, yeah, she was the one that did that. And then you go, well, how old am I now? What am I? 45 years old? What? That was freaking 35 years ago.
You're like, it can't be
Grow the
affecting me right
hell
now.
up
There's
and
no way.
understand that it's not that, she's got no control over me anymore.
Right.
That's not true. And forgive yourself for going through this life, carrying this stuff that has nothing to do with you.
So it seems like the
As
logic center clicked in.
a grown ass man.
Right.
And so that's again, but jumping back with one point I wanted to make with my dad and all this. This is where the healing also, again, when you do this, it peels all these good things away. I actually, when that did that, the things that got peeled away is I do remember sitting on the back porch with my dad. And he never told me he loved me and stuff like that. But I remember him sitting next to me and just kind of, giving me a little nudge, or, um, he took me fishing. He took me fishing. I remember him taking me fishing.
That's a big milestone for a lot of us boys,
Exactly.
right? Yeah.
And so all those things went away. This is what victims do. There's no room for goodness. You just,
Yeah, they
because
forget the wording of it, but
then,
the entire reality turns into whatever they're victimizing it
yeah,
can
and you
be.
have to
Yeah,
take accountability.
sure.
Look, when the moment, this is in my mind, again, even in my generation, I was out of the house early. I was basically out when I was 16, 17, doing stuff. So I had a place to come back to, but, it's just when you're 18, it's different now. But in my opinion, when you're 18, you're an adult. That's when you can vote. There's a lot of things that can happen. I still don't understand this stuff, all these laws were sometimes 18, sometimes 21. But when
Sure.
you're 18, you're an adult. Blaming stops.
It
Just
should be
stop.
a hard out, right? It should be
Well, it
18
should
years old.
be,
You
but
can't be blaming your
but
parents.
nobody talks about this, and this is part of the issue. Everybody's parents are screwed up too. Look, I was an administrator for an adolescent residential treatment center for years. Okay. And I'm not a fan of parents. And again, I forgive. Look, I got nothing. They don't, a lot of times they don't know any better.
Yeah. The first time parenting, right? So it's the first time at
Well,
whatever age
sometimes
that
it's
they're
first
at.
time parenting and sometimes it's
Mm,
not. Sometimes it's, when you're dealing with an adolescent, okay, the parenting classes are out. If you're dealing with 13, 14, 15, 16, 17-year-olds, they've already had 13 years. Okay.
sure. Sure.
And so this is the other issues with parents and our school systems and all that. I can go off on a lot of things that I have grown into learning why systems are messed up in our
Hmm.
world and the accountability and just yeah. I mean, like I the last thing I tell is with the politics and stuff these days. I've never talked about them on my platform. I've
Hmm.
done a few things and I don't ever like to do that. I shy away from it because we all know the discourse in it. But I always do tell people, I said, well, look at your politicians. I don't care what side or whatever on your whatever. Look at how our politicians, our leaders, they call themselves leaders. They're the best leaders. They advertise themselves as leaders, and they're going to fix everything and do everything to get your vote and get up there and all that. But you know what they all do when you put them all in a room together? It's like adult daycare. They don't get what they want. They start attacking each other, start verbally saying this, or they just spit on each other, or they'll hit
Yeah.
each other, or
Yeah.
whatever. Because you know what? They're victims. They are developmentally delayed and they don't know how to operate anymore. The system is
Yeah.
messed it up. They messed the system up and now they just live in it. And they don't know how to get what they want in an appropriate way, just like a 2-year-old. So they have a temper tantrum, they act out, call people names, do all those kind of things. And that's how they operate because they don't know how to calm themselves or have, some
Debate,
actual
proper debate.
discourse
Yeah.
around
Sure.
communication, all that kind of stuff. So anyways,
General debate of just, I said it with my son the other day where, I told him that when you're growing up as a child, right? He asked some very basic silly question, and I said, "Listen, it's my first time dealing with a such and such age. In your past, it was my first time dealing with that. Me growing is us talking about this and going to therapy or whatever it may be, having a general discourse or debate about something about how it impacted you." I was telling him that I read something or came across a video where it talked about as
how old is
adults.
he? Sorry to
He's
interrupt
10.
you. He's
No,
10.
that's okay. He's 10. Yeah. And I saw that as we grow, all of us are children still, right? Like, and you kind of just alluded to that, where these leaders, it doesn't matter what side you are, whatever label it is, these leaders, in my mind, it was a general, none of them, including ourselves, have grown up until we have learned from the past and being able to talk about our past unemotionally, being able to have these discords unemotionally. You can be passionate, but unemotionally, where you're not attacking each other for different points of views, no matter what it is. And for him, a 10-year-old's not going to understand that, but just by throwing in those little things, my hope is that it's removing that victim potential, right? Like, oh, I didn't have this as a kid, or this didn't happen. I do remember my dad talking about certain things like this. So that's what my hope is, that is just by having those conversations with one another, just people in general, like what we're doing, you're growing as a person, because it's we had another guest on our show, Dr. Christian Conte, where he has something called the yield theory, where it's the what if. What if Scott's telling me this. Maybe his point of view is actually right. And it just gets you in the mindset of not being so triggered all the time. And it just, all of that kind of comes together with what we're talking about with growing up and being able to talk about your past, but in a way where it's not those negative victim emotions are coming and just clouding all the good stuff. Like what you said with your dad. I remember going fishing, or Jared and I, obviously we're brothers. So many things that we can definitely attest to. Whatever bad that our dad did, because he was a dad and it was his first time dealing with the kids, he also just had the positives where we played basketball with him. We didn't go fishing that I can recall, but we played basketball and we threw baseball. We did those little things like that. So it should kind of.
He was a chain breaker too. He
take out or equalize the bad
household
in a way.
Right, where his father like heavily abused him, and he never once laid a hand on us angrily. Right, like he straight broke that chain, and how strong he would have had to have been to be able to do that, right? And so there's things like that,
for sure.
Yeah, I definitely understand that. Yeah, and I never touched one of my kids. I
was going to say, Scott, do you have any kids yourself?
I do. I have 3. I have a 40-year-old daughter, 31-year-old son who just got married last week, and I have a 29-year-old son who is
really grandkids.
His engagement party is this Saturday. But
wow, nice.
Yeah,
nice.
I never touched any one of my kids. That all was wasn't perfect, and for my life around all these things, but I never did that because of what I went through, and I never wanted them to feel that. But something around your son, when you talk about him and talking to your kids, that's a beautiful thing, because that is so important. That's where developmental delays we were just talking about come from. It's because nobody taught them, talked to them, led them to understand, here's the appropriate way to do that. What was allowed to happen was them to flop around the store and Target till they got what they wanted, or until the parent was, that's the other thing, again, we can get into around, caring what people think and all that. People don't even parent their kids the way they know they should, instinctively know they should. If somebody's watching, they'll do the exact opposite. That's all this stuff is twisted. And then I had another point. Oh, my oldest son, who's 31, just got married. Your kid, this is where you start seeing some of these things that pay off. But this was actually about 6 years ago. When your kids get older, like mine, especially late teens, early 20, they start, and then their life now, when things happen in their life or things are going on, that's when they start, maybe ask a question or do whatever, or they remember. Trust me, they have long memories. They remember, hey, Dad, that's not how you handled it. But my son was actually telling me something. I don't ever remember, when I tell this story, I don't ever remember what it is. He doesn't either. But we were just talking, and he was telling me about something from his childhood. And long story short, I asked him, I just remember this distinctly. I said, do you wish that would have been different? I mean, would you like to go back and change that if you could, and all those kind of things? This is exactly what he told me at 25 or whatever he was. He said, Dad, I wouldn't change one thing that's happened to me, one thing that was said to me, anything I've ever done, anybody, or anything as anybody's ever done to me, for me, good, bad, ugly, anything, even the most embarrassing whatever moments I've had in my life, because I wouldn't be who I am today. I was like, geez.
So you're teaching me.
Where's my pen? And,
You're teaching me.
Kids will do that. They will.
I'm looking forward to that.
Reflect. They will They will course correct you, even as adults. So if you raise kids that you allow to talk to you because you've talked to them and they feel that safety, those are the people that have been with you all their lives, and through all of these developmental formative things. And if you're not listening to them, and you don't appreciate what they have to say and their perspective, right, wrong, or how they remember. Look, what is it? There's the truth, your truth, their truth, but and then there's the truth
Yeah.
in the middle, or
One
whatever the truth
side,
is.
their side, and the true side or whatever. Yeah.
Everybody has their own truth,
Yep.
and but that they're going to definitely be the ones that teach you so much in your later years. So I'm looking forward to that, as much as it's probably going to be a little painful shots here and there. Look, that's I want to be around my kids. I don't want them. That's always been my whys. Even through all the muck and everything I've been through, my whys have been my kids. Again, not always perfect, not like I had this perfect upbringing or did everything perfectly. I'm just saying those are what drive me. I won't get into all these things, but um even today when I have the most serious contemplation that's mine that I'm dealing with, that's one of the things I draw from is whatever the decision I make,
Yeah.
how are they going to see it? Is it going to be a benefit to them? That doesn't mean every time I'm going to choose that if it's not something better for me, I think at that time, but that's definitely in the mix. How will my kids perceive this, whatever this decision
Filter,
is?
right? Yeah.
That's a good, I guess, compass, right? A good compass, a filter, yeah, to any decision a person makes. Whether it be, talking about your book or just personal growth, it literally can be occupational, like whatever it may be. Um, I'm gonna go back and switch gears to this growth. So you were in your later part of your years. Now, do you still currently work with adolescents?
No. That
No.
was
So yeah, what did you do?
late
I'm curious about that.
80s,
Yeah,
early
like, did you go to
90s.
college
Okay.
or
What
take us
did you
back to
do?
that? You're off on your own, 17 years old. I
Okay,
imagine
I'm
there's a lot
gonna
more
keep it a
detail.
long story short. So I'm gonna power through some of this, and I've learned. Well, yeah. So I've learned, but just to give you a quick setup of my life and where of kind of the movement. So again, I've talked to you a little bit about my early years. With my dad, and those years were the way they were. So my mom finally divorced him in when I was like seven or yes, right around in that area. And remember, I was born in 1960,
That's our
so to
mom's
try to give
age.
you a
Yeah.
time frame, so this is in the latest 60s. So now, before that, some of the issues that went on in our household, just quick things with my mom. My mom's West Texas girl. Okay, I don't know
Yeah.
if y'all know much about Texas.
Cotton
We're
farming out there,
Texas
right?
people. Texas. I love Texas. Well, there was a lot of that.
Yeah.
But anyways, a lot of oil, all that kind of stuff. But ranching, it's but my mom's West Texas, Pecos, Texas, actually, around Midland and all that area. And this is back in the 50s when she grew up there. But she was Miss Pecos and went to Miss Texas, did all those kind of things. Um, and my mom's deal was men. I'll get into that real quick in a minute. But my point is, she was a little dynamo. She was 5 foot nothing, beauty queen kind of, but with just that big attitude. But she had her own thing she was dealing with, but mainly men, which my exhibit A with my dad, first of all. But back then in the 60s, my dad committed my mom to a mental institution. She was gone for 9 months when I was like 3 or 4 years old. This is part of the history. As I've been going through these things for 10
Yeah.
years, I've also
A
become
genealogist.
a history buff around my own, that
Sure.
part of my life, not just going back and looking at ancestry and, having some connection with, Tom, with Johnny Appleseed or something,
The stories,
about
yeah.
just my people that connected with me and kind of, what do I not know about that? So I was able to also get some of my mom's records from that time. So I don't know if you don't know much about psychology and things like that. Ever heard of the DSM book? It's the original book that like textbook
Mm-hmm.
that tells you about the diagnoses, like if somebody has depression, what that is, and explains it, like in you know lost for words sometimes, but like in a textbook type sense. Anyways, so back then, so anyways, got my mom's paperwork to try to understand a little bit of that. And now my mom just died a few months ago. She was in she had Alzheimer's. She was in a memory care unit for the last 8 years. So anyways, it was a mess. But uh, looking at the paperwork, he admitted my mom. This was on the mission paperwork. Remember, this is in the 60s. This is what happened. And it was, she wasn't acting right.
According to a drunk man.
She wasn't acting right.
Wow.
Now, of course, this is all the paperwork I get. I don't have notes from all this stuff or all that, but that was on the admission paperwork. Why? And back 100%. Then, as a husband, in Texas,
with no question, right?
You could commit your wife. Now,
what a different time.
And here's what her diagnosis was, which was also, this is why I brought the DSM up. This was an official diagnosis back then. Her diagnosis was heartbreak. Now, that came, after they assessed her and did all these things and all that. You got to remember, I told you, I gave you a little bit of about my dad. Gambler.
Yeah, he's drunk, right?
He ran around all the time. That was their life, and he was an abuser and an alcoholic, and just blah 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 blah. So, I don't, anyways. So that was just a little history there. But she divorced him when I was 7. Which probably 50-50 saved my life, or could have, why I'm alive today. But
yeah.
But this is why I brought that up about him putting her in a facility, is because when we moved out, or she went back to school, and she went back to school because she wanted to be a counselor. And okay. I think that was a big part of the driver for that. But anyways, and she had mentioned it a little bit, and we didn't get into a lot of that because she never wanted to talk further about that. Look, our parents have shame too. They don't want to go down these roads most of the time, especially when they're not dealing with themselves.
Well, think about us as individuals that aren't wanting to try to learn and grow. So that's our parents, right? That's anybody individual out there. So they almost don't know any better, but at the same time, they don't have the drive to do what we are trying to do ourselves, which is grow.
Or the knowledge or information or the internet or any of that stuff to put in front of you. But anyway, so I grew up with this mother from 7 till, so my growing up years were in the 70s. And that was a different time too. Okay.
Sure it was.
And so my mom became another old people's term for back then was what they called a bra burning liberal.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you know that term.
I do. Your mom lived the 70s in a very insightful way.
And she, again, I told you my mom was a dynamo. So she went wholehearted into this lifestyle. Now, again, she left me and my sister behind through this a little bit, and a lot of neglect and a lot of alone time. And there's just all these other stories we talked about around this stuff. She started, in Denton, Texas, the University of North Texas is there. That's where she went to work on her master's and things like that. And we lived there for a while, but she started the Planned Parenthood there.
Okay.
Now, I want you to understand, I'm from Texas. And so when I talk about these things, I love my mom, and I don't have any issues, again, with anybody around anything. But a lot of those beliefs I never took on. So, but people, I've warned people in the past, if you want to remain my friend, I'm proud of my mom for doing that.
Yeah.
Look, this is where
that's a big deal. If anyone doesn't know about Texas, that's a big deal.
And these are the big deals that where I come from, and she gave me a lot of that. And whether you're politics or not, you like her setting up Planned Parenthood. I wouldn't have wanted that for her. I wish she would have done something else, but she did. That's what she wanted to do. And she went through one of the fire things where, it got set on fire, all those kind of things. That time back then too was very, very contentious. And that was in a college town. And so anyways, so I lived with this mom who went back to school to get junior college, to get her bachelor's, then to get her master's, and then get her doctorate in counseling, all while practicing out of the house, all while doing all of these things that I'm exposed to. So she's got group counseling on Tuesday night. She's got, this counseling on group counseling in our dining room with all these
Scott
chairs
playing with his little
on
trucks
this
on
night.
the carpet.
Yeah, well, look, I'm a kid. I'm not the most functional
Scott's over there
kid
taking
either.
minutes for the
Well,
meetings.
I'm listening against the wall. It's like, well, what the hell? Are you kidding me? Anyways, so I'm living this life, and exposed to this stuff I shouldn't have been exposed to. But I'm happy I was, just like my son brought that to my forefront. That was part of what formed me. I'm very happy I had those experiences. And so, anyways, went through that, but I'm going to make this really short now. So through those 70s, that's what happened with that. But there's so many things in there. A lot of people don't believe this, but I can show them things and we talk about it and all that. And this is the thing about, we've all got our lives and we all go, well, people just wouldn't understand. Well, I feel the same way a lot with mine, but I was exposed to not just that stuff, but which was not that bad always, but a lot of information I shouldn't have had in my head.
Well, you were a
at that
young
time,
kid,
but,
right? You were hearing a lot of
yeah.
advanced information.
But my mom's issue was men. Okay, now just give you guys want to understand what grew this monster here. My dad still on the record, we can't figure out everything. My sister and I have done a little work on this, but he's looking at around being married 12 times.
Your dad?
My dad. And my mom being number 10.
Wow.
So
how old was he when he married your mom?
He was 36 when they got married.
Holy, so he was married,
but he was
10 years older before.
He was 10 years older than my mom.
Okay, got it.
Now, my mom was married a solid 8 times.
Okay.
Remember the 70s, and then you throw in the barber and liberal, and you throw away this, that, now you throw all those things in there. Okay, I'm watching it's a revolving door.
Yeah, from both sides, right? On both parents.
Out.
Yeah.
And then I want to give you one more thing that's really been something that's been formative around things, and you have to move me along if we need to move along with some of these. But so my mom did a lot of internships. This is why she wasn't home a lot. So again, I understand that about her now, and I get it, and that she was on a grind, and she loved it. But her dysfunction went with her while she did it. So the example with this is when I just went into high school, I'm like 15. She's working as a teacher in a prison.
Okay.
As an internship, and she through the federal prison system, Seagullville, which is right outside Dallas. She was at. But to make a long story again short here, all of a sudden on the weekends, this man was coming to our house and staying with us for the weekend. And his name was Eddie. And Eddie was Hispanic. And I only bring up that he was Hispanic because he had been in prison for 15 years already. He was in the camp system for the federal prison at that time because he was going to be getting out soon. But I bring up again his heritage because he was convicted at a high-ranking. He was the second highest rank official in the Mexican mafia in San Antonio, Texas.
Goodness.
This is again back in the 60s, 70s kind of stuff. Now, this guy's coming home on the weekends. Okay, I don't know why. Well, I do know why, but I'm not like.
You're just hey, here's Eddie.
Like, well, why?
I mean, I could tell you why, Scott.
Why like this? He's got no car. My mom's, my mom taking him, bringing him back. Look, I've got my own life going on. In high school is when I finally got some people I felt I could connect with. But anyways, so I wasn't paying as much attention. But anyways, so eventually she comes to me again, some of these time frames again, I don't remember, was it 3 months later? Was it 6 months? Whatever. She comes to me and says, "Hey, Eddie." I said, "Yeah, I know Eddie. He is here every weekend." She said, "Well, he's going to be coming to live with us full time." And I'm like, why? I mean, I like the weekend thing, just get him in and out. Anyways, um, she's not telling me. See, again, this is my family system. This is not upfront information. This is not tell the whole truth. There's
Right.
a lot of skating information, being vague, which is lying by not giving all the information, all that kind of stuff. Well, she doesn't tell me. I don't even know he's even in prison. And then when he does, and he was coming home with us on the weekends because he was getting furloughed. Been in prison, behind the fence for years, and then they put him in a camp. He's fixing to transition, come home for the weekends, do
I
all
wonder if they
that.
still do that nowadays. I don't think I don't think that
I don't know
exists.
exactly, but that's kind of how they used to transition, or from my experience with that. And then, so that happens. And so then she tells me he's come live. I still don't know he's in prison. And, but he has gotten out, again, putting all this together and then finally getting the information. But so he comes and lives with us. Well, you got to remember one of Eddie's issues is Eddie is an addict, and Eddie is a heroin addict. Now, of course, he's had a lot of time away from that and all that. But again, we all know, look, you kind of go through these things, and if you're not taking care of yourself, and then your life gets stressed and you get stressed, you start looking for the comforts. And if the comforts are available in there, you start going back to it. So it's not shortly thereafter. It's just really quick. I don't know. Again, the only thing I remember is during this time that the Dallas Cowboys were playing the Denver Broncos in the Super Bowl. And that was the Super Bowl that Ed Too Tall Jones and Randy White won the co-most valuable defensive player. And I think Craig Morton was actually the Denver Broncos quarterback at that time. I don't know if y'all know anything about that kind of stuff, but that I remember that day.
It was was that the 70s or was that the early 80s?
No, that was the 70s.
That was in the 70s.
1977,
Okay.
77, 76, 70.
I know sports around like the 76 to like 82 was like intense.
Now that was that,
so.
you had some other kind of little spots for some of these teams, but that was, again, I don't know whatever, but that was the Cowboys. And again, anyway, so that's why I kind of remember that time frame. So again, this is my mom. So this man starts using again. She buys him a big dually. He's going to go be a framer now. Again, not earning any of this stuff himself. I'm not putting him down in. I'm just saying, this is all getting done for him because this is my mom. She's going to fix him.
Yeah.
This is Eddie from prison. I'm going to fix him. I'm going to give him. I'm going to set him up. I'm going to I'm going to fix him. I don't know exactly what's going on, just for him to love her or whatever. I don't know exactly what her triggers were, all that kind of stuff, but that's what I'm living with. So it's not shortly thereafter, he started beating the hell out of her. He's using heroin again because she's not giving him what he wants anymore.
Sure.
And then here's me bowing up at 15, thinking I'm ready to take on a man now. And it just, he breaks a couple of my ribs. There's just stuff that goes on.
Goodness.
But this happens multiple times with my mom. Not at this exact level, same but different. Every man. And so that was her vice. My mom was a great therapist. People loved her. She helped so many people. But all that stuff coming out of her mouth, not anything she could do herself.
Shame.
So again, that was that. That's just kind of understanding from age, 0 to 18 as far as growing up in a household with a parent. And then again, I tried to follow that track. This is where I did go back to school, went to work for this treatment center, later. I was did other things before that, but went back to school a bit later. I think I was 20, 26, 27. And
so
I was going to get
did
my
you see
degree.
your mom doing this, like counseling and helping, that you decided I'm going to do that as well because I can see
I was,
I can see value in it?
yeah, huge influence. But here's the thing with me. When I went back, I went to work for this treatment center. Again, anything that I've ever done is victimy and is self-sabotaging as I was most of my life, I always accept. I'm a survivor. I can figure anything out. I'm gonna shoot from the hip. I can all do all that temporary stuff. Back then, it was very valuable. That a lot of that's not valuable now. But my point is, when I got with this treatment center, I got into the administrative part, and again, I like that better. I would quit. I just quit. I already knew, and in my mind, I already knew how to. You want to sit down and you want to talk about something? I'll fix you right now. I know how to do that. I watched them. My mom did it. I went through all this, and again, that was very helpful. I could, talk to people from experience, and I believe experience is more valuable than anything. I come from the
100%.
system of knowing my mom. This treatment center was awful, and I know how bad the system is. And if any of these facilities you see out there, you don't think there's crap going on in the background of those facilities,
Oh
even
man,
today.
yeah.
And I know that. I've had, anyways. So my point, just kind of moving quicker. I got in the administrative part. I became the facilities administrator.
Okay.
So I liked, we had a staff of 50, and we had, our therapist, and we had the psychiatrist we had to have, which the only reason we had them was so they could prescribe medication, which appeased the insurance companies, which got us paid, which prolonged their stays. So these are all these, not only do I have all this information, I live this information. Now I'm working in this world and watching all this happen. There was 5 partners in this facility, this treatment center. One was a businessman. One was our clinical psychologist who oversaw the therapy department, and then the rest of them were therapists. All 3 of them were therapists, and they all knew each other from back in the day, got together and started this treatment center. Great intentions and all that kind of stuff that goes on, but it's all about money. And back then, the insurance companies paid good, and so that was the game. And anyways, that's where I met my second wife. We had our first kid there, and then we decided on a second kid that we were going to. My youngest Ben, as soon as he was born, I was already searching to try to find other things to do. I didn't. Plus, that is such a stressful environment to be in. You got to remember, back then they just started coming out with cell phones, and they were like
The
this.
big old clunky things.
So
Yeah.
we carried beepers. So these are funny things to me, that because when I think back on that, wasn't my cell phone going off. It was like everywhere, in a restaurant, wherever else, my beepers going off, and everybody, and back then too, you're like, I wonder if he's a drug dealer,
Especially if you got 2 beepers on you, man.
So anyways, that's how I got into the treatment center part, working with adolescents. I appreciated that because I loved doing what we could for them. I knew where they were coming from. I knew all the dysfunction. I watched it happen, and I was able, I was effective in a lot of what I did.
Yeah.
So that was a good point for me. But again, you got to remember, just like learning from my mom a lot about that world, good and bad, I also learned how to not turn it on me.
It's impressive.
So
right, because
so
throughout your entire life, you weren't playing the victim card.
No, I was.
You were, okay.
I was.
I misunderstood
that's what
you
I'm
then.
saying. I couldn't turn it. I just like my mom turning her issues on herself to deal with that.
Yeah.
So I learned from her to deal with it through other people, fix other people, try to help other people. It deflected my stuff and what I had to deal with. So there's so many things I've learned around that. But no, I was severely a victim. I still operated the exact same way. And
it's interesting you said that. I hate to cut you off there, but I'm going back on there's so many of us. I would probably put Jared and myself on that, in that category as well, where I wouldn't say we're trying to fix people, but we're trying to showcase how they can fix themselves. But almost in the same way, we had another guest at our last show where it kind of hit me where the childhood trauma came out, where whatever exercises he was doing on me, it came through on the show. And I didn't realize that I had even more to learn and to grow about myself while I was just, I'm helping, I'm creating what we're trying to create. And you forget, whether you forget or you purposely are just trying to stay away from the ugly stuff because you're really trying to grow and do something else. But that hit me. And what you just said right there is that too many of us, we try to fix other people. Right. I think about all the therapists out there, and the joke in the statement that people say is, some of the craziest people are the therapist, right? Or whatever the saying is that they say about that. Which, partly might be true. We're all crazy in some way, if you want to use that word.
Most people in the helping field
Mm-hmm.
are in the helping field because they are injured.
They know what that pain is like. And I'm right there with them, right? So Jared and I, we have the same upbringing. We interpreted our lives perhaps a little bit differently. And we felt our life a little bit differently. So we both have pain. We all have different pains that we're trying to help and whatnot. And for my personal life, my job is to help people professionally become and to excel in what they're doing. So it's interesting. I don't know why it's hit me right there in that moment where you said that too many of us, we are trying to fix other people and not fix ourselves. So I think it's a good cut in there where, I mean, this book, man, I don't know how else to say it. It is such a basic, friendly reminder of what you stated. It is to read it, learn about it, and and to just freaking do it. Just get out there and start moving and start fixing yourself instead of trying to find these external influences to help you. Let me go follow this influencer who's got 5 million followers. He's got the right idea. He's going to help me.
It's just avoidance, and it's
Sure.
a distraction. Look, if you're a victim, bring on your problems. Bring them
Bring it
on,
on,
man,
baby.
because then I don't have to think about mine.
That's right.
And a lot of times, again, the intentions of people in the helping field usually are stemming certainly from a good place. But again, they're unhealed, or they don't know what they're talking about. And I put out a little thing out, and I was on a tear for a while around therapists because they were pissing me off with what they're doing on social media. And I always told people, I said, look, interview your therapist. You got to look at this in a different way. People put therapists on a pedestal like a doctor, and that they know everything. They have to listen to them. And I'm going to go to check this therapist out. To hopefully they'll take me on. They haven't even met him yet. You need to interview him. You go in there and interview.
You have no idea if you're going to connect with them or any of that other stuff.
And you got to be willing to be open and honest and tell them what's up right off the bat. Look, I've been through this. I've done this. This is screwing me up. I don't even know what is going on here. How can you help me with that? What experience do you have with that? Most of the time, they don't have experience with it. They don't know anything about, your stepbrother holding you down on the ground and lighting matches and then stick them in your ear. Well, I know about that, but most people don't. I'm just saying, so somebody comes to me and talks to me and wants to talk to me about that, I might be able to give them some information from experience. Way more valuable than something somebody read out of a dang textbook. And I'm not putting them down for this. And when I get charged up like this, it is just because it's a waste of time. All this patting on the back and patting on the knee and let's talk some more. Well, let's do this. No. Let's go fight. Look, with the demons I did in my head. People go, how do you get rid of those voices? You don't. For me, you don't. Mm-hmm. I can't say it can't be done, but they don't go away. But for me,
they don't. Right? You control those voices.
They don't set in anymore. So I can wake up in the morning and be just as anxious as when I was at my worst. But now I can quickly get out of it, where it took me forever before, when I was first going through this, to go through progressions, reading, learning, meditating, walking, whatever I was hiking, whatever I was doing. Sometimes it take me a day before I could even get the last few hours in to be productive for me or anybody else. Now it doesn't set in. I tell people, you've got to find your own tricks and tools. Mine is, have you ever seen the movie 300?
No, I haven't.
With Gerard Butler. Yeah, have
No.
you ever seen those things sometimes on TikToks or I don't know what you social media on these, videos where it's like Spartans.
Oh, 300. Oh, yeah, yeah. I'm sorry. Yes, I have seen that.
Okay.
That's when he is.
So
Yeah.
so
That's
I
when he's
tell
like a
people
warrior.
my trick was the biggest trick I got was when I couldn't make it stop, make it stop. For some reason I don't know what the trigger was. I thought about that and I thought, you know what? This is something I'm going to try. And this was part of my journaling and different things that I did. I said, I created my own 300 in my brain. So when those demons come out, and it's not something where, boom, something's, trying to bring up my anxiety and get me to worry about something, I can pretty much, get out of here. I don't need any of that right now. Go away. But if it's something which doesn't happen a lot anymore, but if it does, I just call on my 300. I just get them.
It's your tool. I
Get
like
them.
that.
Just wipe them out. Kill them. People talk about, well, you need to learn how to dance with your demons. You need to learn how to partner with your demons. You need to learn how to talk to your demons. These are things I don't subscribe to because for me, it doesn't work. And I'm not going to put in extra time at 64 or 50. Maybe when you're 20, 22, or in your 30 and you're going back to school and you really want to learn about this stuff and go through all the little things to see what works or doesn't. But I already know I've been through that. I lived it my younger years and all that. And that's again bringing us very fast forward
Yeah,
is
too.
bringing us
Obviously, you got this
into
self care, right? So you went through all that. You were working with all those kids. Where's that shift at? Where's the epiphany of like, damn,
it wasn't
something's
working with the
gotta.
kids. You got to remember, this is the kids I stopped working with.
Hmm.
My youngest son is 29, so it's 27 years ago.
So you were doing more administrative stuff. You stepped away
No,
from the actual
I
stuff
wasn't even in
altogether.
that field. I
You
got
weren't.
out of that
Okay.
field completely. Yeah,
Oh, okay. Got it. Okay.
I was in that for 11 years,
Okay. So what did you
and
do? I
that
guess in the between. Where
there was
where's that?
well, when you say in between, so I've done a lot of things, and mostly just entrepreneurial type stuff.
Okay.
So I've done I did a lot of stuff online in the early years. I had multiple sporting good stores on eBay. I was one of the first uh, beginners on eBay in a lot of ways. And then until people came around and ruined it all.
It's completely
But
changed. I know that
anyways,
from the
I
beginning.
I
Yeah.
just I've done um, just all kinds of different things like that. I mean, I don't do well. I don't like corporate. I see all one of the things I did move away from early was understanding that I needed to be in environments where I could do whatever I wanted. And so, I dabbled in all kinds of things. Uh, I was an insurance and investment broker for many years, and but that I was not working for anybody. I was licensed outside and was what was considered an independent broker kind of thing.
Okay.
I had a partner for a while who handled the investments. Um, so mainly a lot of stuff like that.
Okay. So
Just
throughout that time, were you going through any kind of self-care practices, or
no.
was that shifted after like, okay, I've done all
I
this.
was telling everybody else how to go through it, but I wasn't doing it.
You weren't doing it. But around
No,
50 years old, something hit you.
I was a complete total victim. All this stuff is very, documented on most of my social media. But I'm a buck 80 right now. At one time I was 280 pounds. I was again. I tell people, first of all, if you want to explain away why you're 100 pounds overweight, that's okay. You can do that for you. But I know what it takes to consume to stay 100 pounds overweight because I did it for years. And, I, drank, wasn't alcoholic because I didn't like it. I just did it for the buzz. I was quick to the buzz. I wasn't a connoisseur of anything except for the buzz. Um, and I was just not functioning at all. I've been married twice. Second marriage was 19 years with my two boys. My first marriage was, I had my daughter. I don't count the first one because we were 19 when we got married, 20, whatever we were, and it wasn't. Nobody's ready, even back then, is really, really ready for that, especially when you're an unhealed person. And through my second marriage, I was just, I was a liar. Victims, you're gonna lie. You have to cover your tracks, and you have to manipulate. You have to morph the situation to fit,
Your
your
reality.
narrative.
Yeah.
Um, and you have to blame. It has to be everybody else's fault. I knew, trust me, everything I've just told you about what I've been through, and my mom going through, learning about therapy, and then me, the treatment center, and then just everything else. This is the other piece. None of it ever pushed on me, I never learned to stop blaming. In fact, I turned it up.
Kidding. Wow.
And so when I was helping somebody, I was like, oh, heck yeah, I get it, man. I get it. My dad, heck yeah, man, I get it.
So
It's
on the outside, you appeared to be like you had everything figured out, or
of
you had it all
course, I'm
handled.
a people
Yeah, yeah,
pleaser.
sure.
You cannot operate. That's your life. How can I present myself? This is what my mom did. This is what my dad did. This is what I learned how to do because I hated myself. I had no self-worth. I didn't have any
That was a big
self-worth.
shift then. Like you go from that narrative to this vulnerability that you, especially showcasing on social media, right? That's a massive shift. So the external world, you had everything figured out. You were this successful person, and then something shifted in you. Now this external world is like, wait a second, Scott Tatum, I thought you had everything figured out. Did you go through that transition at all from anybody in your circles? Or is everyone like, we get it?
Are you saying like people that my kids or other people that know
Yeah,
me are
like
going
because
through it?
nobody, I mean, people knew about your past. I'm assuming it's not like in the last 12 years it just came up. I'm sure people knew a little bit about your past, especially the ones that were close to you. They knew
Yes.
about your family history and things like that. So the people that didn't, though, that knew you as this successful person, now, I don't know that shift or that time period. So I'm just going to say you were successful, if that's all right. Um, so the
Yeah.
successful entrepreneur, um, you know, I can
Not
attest.
always successful. Not always successful. You got to
Okay.
remember, I'm a self-sabotager. And my kids have exhibited that. My ex-wife, living the life. We'd be living the life one minute, and then we're like, I'm trying to figure out. Again, this is where I talk about living behind the eight ball.
Yeah. Yep.
So, and that's also an unfortunate thing when you learn you're a victim and you learn to be a survivor, and you learn those survival skills. This is where you develop survival skills going through it. So my dad was the monster. So my first survival skills were, how do I avoid the monster? How do I please the monster? How do I recognize the monster is coming in the house a little loud? How do I melt into the wall where he doesn't see me? How do I move this way? You're constantly, and so those survival skills are what keep you alive a lot of times, or
That makes
keep you
sense.
from further damage, even not knowing it. You're trying to, as a instinctively, even as a kid, you're trying to get through these things.
Yeah, makes sense.
And so when you grow up and you don't heal, and you become that 18-year-old I'm talking about, whether you like it or not, you're 17 and 364 days, you're your kid, shut up. And now you're 18 on that day, and you're an adult. You're considered an adult. Those survival skills, unhealed survival skills, is what make you a horrible victim. And then they don't translate well into adulthood because that's how you operate with everything. So you are a victim. So everything, again, you're blaming. So it's everybody else's fault. So you're operating to try to keep any focus being on you. You're, again, the people pleasing. And then you're lying. You're doing everything so that nobody looks at you sideways. Oh my God. That would be the worst thing in the world for anybody to not
Oh, yeah.
like me.
Sure. You know, that's not
And
even
so
talking about
that's
the
how you
personality
live.
type of
Think
the
about
individual,
trying to
right?
live your life that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
With
I mean, you
with no
have
monster. With no monster. They're not monsters.
sure.
But you're stressed. That's how you live your life. That is that. And I became, again, as an adult, it doesn't translate. And I became that. So I even refined it and became a very high functioning victim. I was able to pull it off so much. And if you're a high functioning victim, you're able to get away with a lot of things. So when you do, like I said, shoot from the hip, you have a heightened sense of common sense, all these things, you self-sabotage yourself all the time because you know why? Because you know you can get it back.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, you're
You,
you're smart about it, right?
look,
You
I can
can.
tell you right now, and I still feel that same way.
Yeah.
I can screw anything up right now. I don't want to anymore. Or you still have your,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Inadvertently
again,
happen.
I'm not perfect. But my
Yeah.
point is you just, you can't, a success breeds attention. So this is why this social media stuff and me, this is why it's so easy now for me to talk about all this stuff because I don't care anymore. I have bared my ass already. I have been through it. Now I'm going to jump forward here and away from this. And again, we can take it wherever you want. So I know leading up to, we've clarified a few things about exactly my situation, but there was a shift. There was a shift. My last divorce was when I was 50. Okay. It's been almost 15 years. Wow. It's been 15 years. I'm still living in 2024. It's been 15 years. It's from 2010. So the deal is after going through a couple of years of that, my boys came with me. They were 13 and 15. They came with me. All kinds of other stories and reasons around that. But they came with me. Anyways, I gave up on myself. That was the turning point for me. Everything I've just explained to you about my life, where I come from, what I was doing, living as a victim, how I operated, woke up in the morning, every freaking morning trying to just live past these demons in my head and all the stupid decisions I keep making. Everything over and over and over and over again. Eventually, enough's enough. Man, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, it hits you.
I
You're burnt
am
out with that.
freaking exhausted. And
Man,
so I gave up.
that's a deep. I just want to sit on that for a second, if you're okay with that. That is a. It doesn't matter what age, honestly, what age. For you, it happened around the 50, but for some people, it's 20 years of dealing with that, being beaten down and their own demons or external things that they're dealing with. That's a big thing right there, man. It's just feeling exhausted of the rat race, exhausted of internal demons, or just exhaustion is where I think a lot of us are living in right now, including Jared and myself, right? I mean, we're not we're not shielded from any of the bullshit that we're dealing in the world. We all have our demons, man, and it's just exhausting to wake up every day and to fix those demons and to just take on a person, what's his name? Goggins is coming to my head right now.
Yep, David
Where
Goggins is a big influence on me.
huge. I mean, just huge. It's like, no, you wake up and you force yourself to face your demons every day and you take them head on. Otherwise, you are hit with that exhaustion with nothing happening. Like you can, like you could definitely fake it, and I'm surprised, and in a way, it's pretty admirable that you made it 50 years of dealing with those demons and actively dealing with those demons.
You know
At that,
what pushed me through that is my kids.
okay,
It wasn't thinking about my kids and going, I need to push through this because of that. I, w- there was no exhaustion that was going to get me at that time. I was exhausted 15 years earlier,
yeah.
but,
Just you were physically exhausted, probably dealing with
and
raising a
so,
kid and all that.
again, part of the trigger is, remember, divorce. My kids come with me, they're 13, 15, and there's a few years that go by. So they're getting, 16 and 18. And then, they're one of the oldest one's starting to graduate. The youngest one's coming up. So this is going through my head. I'm fixing to be alone. There ain't nobody else. Screwed every other part of my life up except for these kids. Doing what I can do for these kids, being the best I can for these kids, which was completely twisted when you think about that. But the deal is that they were it was evident. It was it was happening. They were already, very social into their lives. I just, and it was coming. That was part of the giving up. That was all part of it. Did you read Goggins' book, You Can't Hurt Me?
No, I believe Jared probably did. He keeps going in and out. It seems like
Yeah.
he's dealing with some
Read,
technical issues.
listen
But
to me.
Yeah,
Read David Goggins' book, You Can't Hurt Me. It's his first book.
I got it written down.
It's
Of course, I've listened
Sam,
to so many things of
if
his.
you've had some impact from some of the things you've watched him say on a clip.
Oh yeah, for sure. The book
And
is even
book
more
is,
intense.
it opens. The reason it resonated with me so much,
Mhm.
this was years ago. This was, I think, when the book came out, 2014, 2015, something. And was I really started making some shifts, because when you listen to the book, and I would do it on audio,
Yeah,
to tell you the
yeah,
truth.
yep.
But
Love me some audiobooks,
the first part
especially
of the book
narrated by them.
is him talking about his life growing up, just so much like mine. Alcohol, just abuse that his dad, and that's what made me really listen to him, was knowing this guy. there's freaking hope,
Yeah, yeah,
and this is all part of help me develop a more stern approach for me, because all the passive stuff I wasn't grasping, it wasn't sinking in, it wasn't taking a hold of me.
mhm,
So I needed, how does this change for me to where, and listening to him, I understood it starts with you got to get way control of this right here.
yep,
No matter what, you got to
yep.
get control of this. And so anyways, if he's had any impact on you, you haven't read
Yeah,
that book.
you got
gotta
him
read that book.
and oh my God, Jared. The other book, Jesse
Isler?
he's a hunter.
Jesse Isler?
Jesse Itzler, yeah, and then there was like three dudes that have been. You think the other person name? My brain is just going crazy with all kinds of questions.
Yeah.
The hunter out in Washington.
The bow.
But you're talking about Cameron Haynes.
There it is.
Yeah. Cameron Haynes.
So those three dudes.
No. My oldest son, he loves Cameron Haynes. You won't find him on a when he's not at work or something like that. He's not wearing, Keep Hammering shirt or something.
Yeah. Mountain Ops. He's all about Mountain Ops.
To Cameron Haynes. Do what?
He likes the Mountain Ops stuff. Like Cameron Haynes.
No, look, my son doesn't hunt.
Okay.
My son has never hunted.
I mean, there's inspirational dudes. Like, it's just get out there, suffer.
And where we found Cameron Haynes was through David Goggins.
Yeah, yeah.
It's this mindset. It's just that. And I'm not David Goggins. I don't want to be David Goggins, and I can't, and I don't want to be Cameron Haynes. But back then, man, did I want to be whatever I am.
Yeah.
In that form that I could be.
Yeah.
So fast forward again, is now we're in this place where I've given up on myself, where I'm at, whatever. This is going on for I'm just pitiful. I'm alone. Kids are living their lives, again, with their social lives in high school
Yeah,
and
yeah.
things. And I'm just pitiful. Everything. I'm just pitiful. So I'm driving around I don't even remember what day it was anymore, but I'm driving around being pitiful, being a victim. This is why this is the way it is. This is why this is the way it is. And I end up at Lake Texoma, which is right on the border of Oklahoma and Texas. And I park by the lake in this little parking area, looking over the lake, this beautiful lake. It's beautiful, the wind's blowing, blah, 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 blah. And I'm just being pitiful right on this beautiful day out by a lake, just being pitiful. I look over, I don't know exactly how I did. I look over, there's a trailhead, one of those big signs. And I see these little, the little squiggles. I'm like, what the hell? So I get out again, what's divine, what's non-intervention, whatever. I don't question it, but if it is, I certainly accepting and believe in it. But so I walk up to this sign, and so I'm just looking at it, and then I can see one trailhead here, and I can see a little bit further down, it splits off into another one, and I can see on the little map. And so that's where my mind's at. This is the first time in probably forever I'm a little distracted and intrigued with something, just this simple map, and my mind is now actually functioning in a way that's figuring something out that might be actually productive. Now, of course, at the time, I don't know that. So I'm like, might as well go be pitiful in the woods. No, that's not what I was thinking, but I was being pitiful. And so I started walking on the trail. I just to go and see kind of what it was like. Look, I had spent some time in the outdoors. I've camped a little bit here and there. It's not like I've been some big anything, but so I started walking, and I got in this state. I don't really know why it happened. I am never going to question it. And, but I just started walking, and I started actually just feeling things. I felt the breeze. I heard the leaves, the leaves kind of rustling. I walked the trail led up to just a couple of little landings. Again, this isn't, we have flatlands in Texas and Oklahoma, but still you get up on this thing, look over the lake or do whatever. And now I'm actually like, well, look at that.
So it's almost like the veil was taken away.
Well, all that
and
started
you saw
happening,
the present moment.
The transition really came up here. I ended up on trail for 3-4 hours, not really even knowing exactly the time or whatever. And a couple of things happened. Everything got really quiet, really, really quiet. Like I was talking about, to where I was feeling it.
Yeah.
I had a connection going on.
You were
with
in the flow.
This out here. And then bam, I was starting to get tired. And I was getting a little fatigued. The demons started coming out again. What are you doing? You idiot. You don't even know where you're at. Just everything. I'm just like, oh no, I screwed up. But anyways, under full attack. Now here's a dot I connected. Whenever I got physically fatigued, whenever I got depleted in that sense, is when things got the worst. And when you're a victim and you're living behind the 8 ball and you're doing things like I did, you're exhausted all the time. So you just keep furthering, deepening the hole, because you wake up exhausted. You're living exhausted, so you're more susceptible to everything that's going on with you mentally. Now, so again, back on trail, here they come. I don't really know. I feel overwhelmed. I'm in an environment I'm not sure about. You're looking for that comfort place or that place to go. Everything's going on, and I'm just in chaos. Believe that, again, I'm not out in the woods looking like I'm a crazy person, but I'm kind of like, what?
You see this random guy just running around, swatting at the air.
So I, here's another dot. These dots start getting connected. It's those voices. guess what? They're my dad's voices now. They're not just some random, they're not my voice repeating what he's saying.
It's his voice.
It's not me.
That's crazy.
It's
You didn't
not
recognize it though at that
me.
time, right?
Now, when that's not like I just all of a sudden had this epiphany and everything changed. It was just like it now. These things are leading me to this different place. So, anyways, I got through that half a 3/4 day episode, but I couldn't wait to go back. I could not wait to go back, and so I did. And to tell you the truth, I've missed very few days in at minimum of 9 years not putting in miles on trail, on park, wherever I'm at.
Just getting out in nature. That's your tool.
100%.
One of your self-care tools is I need to get my ass out there into nature to do what? Is it to think, to just be in nature, to be present? Or what are you doing out in nature?
Nature is going to give you your story. But you got to be open to it. And
so you go out there looking for the story.
I think when I went out on that trail, I try not to second guess this at all. But just from what I feel I absorbed, I believe that if I hadn't done that, I believe the brink I was on going out to that and trying to drive home that point about being pitiful when I pulled up to that parking lot at that lake. And even though I'm in this beautiful environment with this beautiful weather and everything going on, beautiful sunshine and everything, I'm still tearing everything else. I'm tearing it all apart. I believe if I had not gone out on that trail, I believe I would be dead.
Wow.
That's what that did for me. And it has never let me down. It has never let me down. Are y'all familiar with the Appalachian Trail?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's where we grew up.
Do y'all know anything about my history on that?
Yeah, no, we grew up there, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know your history on the AT though.
Well, in 2022,
we're from Pennsylvania, yeah.
This was all part of my journey. This is actually when I started kind of getting a lot of attention on social media. I went out to thru hike the Appalachian Trail in 2022.
That's awesome.
I started in Georgia, southbound on April 7th, 2022.
Oh, you did April.
And I made it 94 days, 1,326.2 miles up into New York.
Dang, you passed right by our house, man.
Until I got an infection in my toe, I blew up, and I got it was basically an open wound. I David Goggins'd it. It started raining real hard. I was trying to push through this certain part. I had a big blister right on my second toe. So, when you're a backpacker, you learn you carry some duct tape. You carry these things to patch your bag if it gets ripped or do whatever. So I wrapped that son of a gun up. This was right around when I started. I don't know if y'all are familiar with the roller coaster.
Mm-hmm.
Goes into Harper's Ferry. It's anyways, raining. It had been raining a couple of days on and off. It's just no letting up for it at that point. Well, I'm just gonna tape this sucker up. I'm taping it up. So I put
duct tape carries it all, man.
And I
Speaking of, I actually have duct tape right here.
You gotta have duct tape.
Gotta have it no matter what, even in your office.
So I duct taped that big toe up with that little toe up with that stuff in the middle, and I duct tape it up because this ain't stopping me. I don't know, 3-4 more days, go by with kind of on and off rain, just whatever. I have not untaped my toe.
Oh.
So, and it doesn't hurt. That's why I didn't untape it.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
So finally I get to, close to the New York area. And anyways, I start, my foot starts hurting, not my toe. Foot. The heck. So I sit on a rock. This is all
just envisioning what this foot looks like
all
right
of
now.
my social media.
You taped the whole thing, right?
Yeah. Do what?
You taped the whole thing.
Not that part, but I do show it. I show the.
I go back and look
I don't
at this.
show it after I went to the ER as I'm fast forwarding. But anyways, I cut it off because again, duct tape doesn't just unwrap. So now I'm in kind of predicament of my knife and I got to, cut it off. And so I undo it. Oh my God.
Yeah. I got to go back on your social media and look at this because I must have missed this part.
You're just gagging on with yourself. And I'm just like, what? So again, I'm not, again, like, okay, calm down. And then I'm like, why is my foot hurt? So I'm looking up around my foot. It's all red. It's just swollen. So I got to go 9 more miles. So I walk 9 more miles. And of course, after you do that, if I hadn't untaped it, I could have gone that 9 miles and it would just been like, I wonder why my foot's hurting. But because I opened it, I knew what was going on. The air got to it or whatever, all that stuff goes on.
Yeah.
I'm just like, so I finally make it to 1,432.6 miles. And I get to this place, finally get an Uber driver. This was in an area where an Uber driver picks up and he's like, well, hell, I'm not going out there. It must have dropped me like 8 times. Finally, somebody came out there to get me. Took me into Rock, what's it in New York? Rock, there's a town off the trail somewhere around the Rock something in New York. But anyways, took me into the urgent care there. No lie, guys. I really, really try to be very accurate, may not be exact, but the nurse comes in, she's doing whatever, and then the doctor comes in, and he's like, this is the first thing out of his mouth. As soon as his first thing out of his mouth when he just looks at me, he's sitting in this little chair, looking at my foot, he looks at me. He's like, what the hell is wrong with you?
You went days with this taped up.
So I said, I'm a hiker. I don't know what to tell you, man.
You're like, I had a goal. I had a goal in mind.
So he goes, anyways, so they do their little deal, find out my foot's infected. Mm-hmm. That's why my foot hurts now, but my toe doesn't. Maybe it did, but I was feeling my foot.
Yeah.
And I had this big hole in my foot all the way down to the tendon not my foot, my toe, all the way down to the tendon and the bone. And it's in all the skin around it. It's about I don't know. I can't tell you exactly. But anyways, all the skin around it, is just white because it's that dead, mushy, typed up, wet skin.
Bacteria ridden.
And it's just a mess. So again, you have to understand, I went on the Appalachian Trail through hike, not to look at the views. Look at what was I look. I don't want to. I've seen views, and if I want to see views, I'm going to see views. My focus was I wanted to walk that trail. I want to go walk this trail. I wanted to do it as fast as I could, not running and doing all that. But I wanted to move quick, and I wanted to. Again, I was into hurting myself, and I don't mean hurting myself like I ended up doing.
Right.
I just wanted to feel it. That's what. Remember talking about when I first originally went on trail and that getting tired. And then again, as I did it more and more, I realized the work got done when it was time to bug it, when your mind was telling you to bug out. So when it was raining or I was tired or I was half dehydrated or just, I was tired of sleeping in the woods for 6 straight days, whatever it ended up being,
right.
What are you going to do? You going to go home? You going to go home? Or are you going to do
by
this?
yourself most of the time,
I wanted
right?
to keep finding that. That's what I was doing. So anyways, I asked him, I said, so what's the deal? I mean, when can I get moving again? Like, what do I need to do? He goes, are you fucking crazy? He goes,
I just need a walking boot, Doc. That's all I need.
He's like, if you can go, first of all, it's going to take 6 weeks on its own just to heal up.
Man.
And then he said, you can still go out then, or you can go out before, tape it up and do whatever you want to do, but you're going to lose your toe.
Damn.
So if you want to finish the trail and you want to not have a toe, it's up to you. So at that time, I wasn't quite ready to use a toe. I was not going to. I don't remember David Goggins actually giving up a toe. So I was not going to give up a toe yet. So
if Goggins hasn't given up a body part, I am damn sure not.
So anyways, that's what happened on that. But I'm going to fast forward this again. I know we're probably getting into some other stuff, but it just tells you my story, my mentality up to where it's led now.
Yeah, no, this is great.
So I'm like, this is crazy. So, and again, my toes healed. It healed right about 6 weeks. You know, he didn't get it, but my skin's really thin there. You know, it messed me up for a minute. And when you do a through hike like that and you do that kind of stuff, you know, and look, I was no spring chicken back in 2022 either. So when you're getting a little bit older, things ache on you a little bit more and they hang on a little bit longer. You know, that's what happened there. But I was going to go back, not that year. I was going to go back in 2023. Remember, this is 22. I was going to go back out in 2023 and I was going to get this just done, man. I'm not.
The rest of it done, yeah.
I said, do it. But then I got the book offer. Then I had to write the book, which of course is not much more than probably a child could have written. But there was a time put in and all that process. I've never worked with a publisher before, and I didn't even want to do it. I told him no 3 times. Again, I'm dyslexic, and hell, I can't much read, much less write a book. So, but they gave me an editor, and they went through all that with me. So I had to do that. And then there was some promotion stuff around that. And then just things got away from me a little bit. So I fast forward again, I went back out last year in 2024. Okay. Started all over again, April 4th or 5th this time. Boom, boom, boom. Let's fast forward. So now I'm 20 miles south.
You said you started over again?
I thought you would have started it.
I
didn't start back?
I went there to do the whole thing at once.
Wow.
So you wanted to you didn't want to like go finish it. You through hiked it again.
No, I didn't through. Remember, I only made it 1,400 miles.
Well, excuse me. You attempted the through hike again.
Yeah, so I did it again. So get this. So now, remember, first time, 1,400 miles, 94 days. This time I make it 89 miles. Here's what goes on. So I'm 20 miles south of Port Clinton. Remember, last year, 2024, in y'all's area. Is that where y'all are at? So
in Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
You remember the heat wave, right?
Yep.
Oh,
yep.
It's not Pennsylvania, it's Roxylvania. But anyway,
I know that. Yeah.
That's when the heat stuff was going on. So
Jeez.
I'm pushing this time through, and again, I'm still going. I'm doing great. I'm doing so much better. My toe is having some issues, but it's manageable. It's not opening up. I'm keeping it where I can, and I'm feeling it. Again, I posted friendly reminders every single day from the trail, both years, and so you can see all that if you want. You can follow that part of it, and then you have YouTube videos, so you can go look at those if you want to.
Yeah,
too,
I saw
and
those.
You can also now we're at this day, trying to fast forward this and get this over with. So and I have no doubt I'm getting there. It's just a matter of when. When am I going to get to Mount Katahdin? I don't know exactly. I have kind of an idea, but I'm going to get there I'm going to get there right about 130, 35 days. Okay. That's what I'm looking at. So I trip and fall. Okay. My foot on trail, all the roots out there in different areas. And I don't, so it's one of those trips. Remember, I'm carrying 25 pounds. So, the roots kind of got that little loop in it and my foot goes in. I wasn't paying attention. I'm doing something stupid on my phone or something, whatever. And, so my foot gets in there and then you're too far away to where you can get it out to get it under you before you fall. So
100%. Yeah.
It's one of those foot caught down.
Yeah. You just planted 120 pounds on your back.
Right on my left side. Lung contusion. Separated shoulder, concussion. I don't know how long I was out.
Goodness.
Now I wake up from this, everything's foggy. I can give you some pieces here and there, but somehow I walked 18, 19 more miles. Now this happened right after I started that morning. And once you get that far down trail, you got your trail legs going.
Oh yeah.
You look,
You're locked in.
I've been doing this for 3 months. You can walk. It's going to hurt sometimes, but you can walk forever.
Mm-hmm.
you can just go. So you're doing 25, you can sometimes 30 miles a day, just depending on whatever, if you're moving fast, or maybe on average 18, a lot of times, whatever. But somehow I got close to Port Clinton, 34 miles out. When you get closer to little towns, and even Port Clinton's a smaller town, or wherever you're at on trail, usually you're gonna find a lot of day hikers because there's scenic views or whatever. They get the trailhead there, and they whatever.
Closer together to the trailheads, yeah.
Thank goodness. Some people about my age, my peers, are day hiking, and this is part of something I remember. I don't remember so much in between. Remember, I haven't had any freaking water. It's a freaking heat wave in the east, and so all that's going on. Thank goodness I don't remember a lot of it. But that morning, I was going to be getting water. That was part of my process. I remember that because it didn't have any, and I was making that push to Port Clinton. And so I know I was going to be doing that, but I fell before I did that. So I hadn't had any water. And through my delirium or whatever was going on, I just, again, don't really know how I got from here to here. But luckily I stayed on trail. And then these people found me. I remember this one guy. This is one of the things I remember. He's shaking me like this, like standing in front of me.
Man.
And the only thing I remember coming out of my mouth, because he started laughing, because he's talking to me. He's like, hey, what's going on? Can you hear what I don't know what exactly he's saying. But then he just starts laughing. And then he tells me why. After this is a day later, and I talked to him on the phone, thank y'all so much, whatever, for getting me to the hospital, this, that, and the other. He's, I said, are you the one that found me? Are you the one that was shaking me and doing all that? He started laughing, and he said, yeah, he said, the only thing you would tell me is, and keep asking me, is, why are you shaking me? So they get me down, and I don't know if if you have been on the trail there, Port Clinton, part of the trail, it's very dangerous going down, going southbound. It's a real steep drop into Port Clinton. If they had not have found me too, and I'd have made it that far,
you would have fallen.
Again, there's all these factors you go, for whatever reason. So ends up I'm at the emergency room. They give me an IV, going through all that kind of stuff. So the doctor talks to me. He says, look, definitely you got really dehydrated. You've been dealing with delirium, and I can't really tell you or not whether you hit heat stroke or not. He said, you were right there, or at least he goes, so we don't really exactly know, maybe some damage exactly right this minute, if there is any from something like that. And he goes, we need to get you checked in and do all that kind of stuff. Now, I'm not going to go into the stories around this or how I feel about this, the medical world and all that. He says, so we need to get you admitted so we can run all these tests and do all that. And I said, you're not admitting me anywhere. I'm not, doing anything. I'm not rude. I'm never rude with anybody about that. So I understand this is me, and you're not admitting me in the hospital. And he goes, but anyways, we got down that. He goes, well, we can try to do a few of these things here. He goes and does this stuff. Remember, I'm in the emergency room, and
still not having finished your hike.
I am concerned because I got all this stuff going on in my head. Just I got this. Everything's on my left side, where I hit my head, and the swelling and everything's going on. And he goes, you got a concussion, this and that. He goes, well, we got a problem. He goes, if I can't admit you, that's a problem, because I can't discharge you, because I can't discharge people with a concussion, because, we have to be able to monitor you and do all that.
Yeah.
Anyways, nice people, you just run into these people, but even if you're just a dum-dum who doesn't like the medical system, he's like, look, we're slow. He said, I'm going to just stay here till I'm ready to release you. So he just pulled the drapes, did all that, said, if I got to kick you out at some point, I may have to push you and set you in the hall for a minute. But he said, you can have some privacy, and you just got to stay here. So he did and all that. And they did, ended up releasing me at the point they did. But he just said, look, you got to go home and get monitored. You got to get with your doctor. And they got to check these things. And I was just, but let me tell you, this time I was like, you got to remember, it's 2 years later and I'm older. It's just a fact. And I'm beat up. I've just been beating myself up, just, and I just don't feel right. So remember, this was about 18 months ago. What did I tell you at the beginning of the podcast? I haven't done any podcast. I haven't taken on any new brand. I haven't done anything around anything.
Yeah.
Except for work to manage myself. This whole year has been dedicated to, yeah, so it was 10 months after I came off trail that I started feeling a little bit better, where I felt like everything that got depleted was finally, the levels were back again.
Wow.
And I could have died. It wasn't my toe. You're going to lose a toe. I mean, I was literally told, you've got all these situations where you just, and that did not hit me for a while either. So all this stuff, this is some stuff so this is why a lot of stuff I've changed in this year, these last months. I've been focused completely on myself. I've still been on social media doing things, but not as hardcore, not as this, that, and the other. Been playing around with stuff, testing things, just trying to figure out. I'm going to be going harder on YouTube because some things are coming up next year. There's all these things that I'm making some plans, and it was an opportunity across the board to get back focused on myself.
Mm-hmm.
What can I learn from all of this in my life and leading up through this? And this is where I came up to where, I don't need to go at myself like this anymore. I'm not completely healed, but I want to live a healed life. I don't want to fight demons every damn morning anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I want to design my life going forward to still be of service to people through this platform that's been given to me. But I want to do it now, showing people the benefits of getting to this point.
A healing point or acceptance, would you say?
Yep.
Would you say it's acceptance you're at right now? Or is it, you say healing, but is it?
No, I'm healed. I just, and being healed for me is now how I define it. And how I define it is nothing can get me anymore. It can get at me that long though. Nothing sets in. I could give a damn about anybody. Old people I think this way. A lot of mentality, they get to a point anywhere where it's like, again,
It is what it is.
Before, bared your ass. I mean, what's anybody going to do to you now?
Yeah.
So, but I don't want to just live this life of constant self-care savage mentality mode. I want to enjoy something. I got grandkids. I got kids getting married. And I want when my grandkids get here, I want to be better for them. And I want to, it's enough's enough. And I'm not blaming it at all, but part of why I think I've stayed in this state as long as I did, that I should have moved to this place a little bit earlier, is not because I should have gotten injured earlier. It's because of social media. That's a whole nother story that someday I'll ever want to talk about, is social media and everything I know about that. All the statistics I have now, all these years I've developed, what's this, that, what's that, and all these things. But I bought into, I had to stay this way because this is what people expected out of me. And so now when somebody says, hey, you didn't put I was waiting for the know your worth. I watched your videos all the way then just so I could hear know your worth. And I just say, look, man, I am so happy you're here and I appreciate you being here. But dude, get ready. No,
Yeah,
it's
I'm gonna do
just,
what I need to do.
So that's where I'm at now with, this is all kind of what all of this is. And I don't have that pull is gone now for the moment. I may go back out on try to do it again. I may just finish the 700 miles I haven't finished. I don't know.
Okay.
But let me tell you why this is the last piece that was so important. Because I had this Goggins mentality, which is cool. It's brought so much to me. I wouldn't allow myself to do another long distance type hike since I fell on trail in 2022 until I finished the Appalachian Trail all the way through at one time. So I didn't do things because I was hung up on
finishing that
and feeling like I had to.
Got it.
Not just because of social media, but because of just, again, that's the unhealed part that may never go away. But it doesn't stay that way. I'm still moving forward. I'm still going to do change. I'm still going to do me. And nobody's gone. In fact, my social media's picked up a little bit here and there, but I don't pander to that anymore. Look, I used to pander to it. Look, back in 2023, falling into that book deal, I got in front of a lot of people. I got to meet some of your podcasters, that I'm not going to name.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all full of shit,
mm-hmm.
and they're all fake. Now, I haven't met them all.
Right.
No, but the ones I have, and here's that other piece of that. And this is how I've always gauged it and how I gauge it since. And this doesn't make me better than anybody else. This is just me. I've never done this for money. I have never sold a course. I have never anything. I've never seminar this. I've never done this, Zoom this, $7 for this, tap in. I've never done any of that.
You're just living you.
But everybody else, this is one of the things that when I started meeting some of these people and talking to them and going, they were like, you got to do this, If you don't think, you've seen every movie out there where the agent's name is Ari, in entertainment industry, whatever, his name's Ari. Hey, you got to talk to my guy, Ari.
Yeah.
I swear to God, 3 of those people said, I got to talk to Ari. Who the hell is Ari? Ari's the one that makes things happen. What does Ari get out of it? Well, I mean, why? Because he just likes it. So my point is, it's all of these things that sometimes you've seen that you think are not real or stupid. They sometimes are, and it's just not the Ari thing. It's just not. It's just the whole point. But everybody well, you need to do this, and we'll help you. We'll help you get a course developed. We'll help you do all this, or you need to make these booklets off of the book, or you need to do this and you need to do that. And I'm just like, why? I don't understand why.
Why? Where's the why in this, right?
The mentality is not, a lot of times at that level even, is not to, how do I make my next move that will mostly benefit people? It's always like, hey, we can create this thing and get this. We can connect it to our seminars we're already doing, and then we can wrap it around here and get them hooked into this, and then this, that, and the other, and then they're just hooked in the system.
Yep.
Yeah.
Give them your email.
It's interesting that you're discussing on that, where our platform is that, right? The authenticity of who we are, who you are as a guest. As we're building this, I have no idea, but I think everything you just mentioned is always going on in my brain. I don't want to do any of that stuff. I don't want to create anything just to get money from things. All right. So this platform is all about just raising awareness, showcasing this stuff. Of course, money will come when we develop retreats or whatever it may be that we want to bring Scott Tatum in to discuss, to go on a nature hike with.
It's going to cost you too.
Of course it would. You know what I mean? For us, that's where the give and take will be. Like this seminar crap and this webinar, and of course it has value to a degree, but I'm glad you touched on that, because the social media world, which is going to be another thing on its own, where I'd like to connect massive amount of people together where we can literally talk about social media, all these influencers, all these facilitators out there with all these self-care practices. Let's go over the elephant in the room, social media. how we all connect with one another. I'm looking forward to that at some point. As our time
Dan,
is ending,
I
you
want to
got
tell you that, first of all, anything you're hearing from me
mm-hmm.
is me.
Yeah.
It's what I've, whatever I don't, it hasn't pushed me away from anything or all that. And I also want a disclaimer that I'm actually studying and talking to some people and looking at the possible avenue of creating a couple of things that I would monetize. I don't know exactly where that's going to go yet, but it's going to not be a hooked in system. It's just going to be just like my book. You want to learn where to start with your self-worth and get after it? This is where you start.
There it is.
It's up to you after that.
Right.
So it's not a continuation thing. The other thing is too, there's a lot of money in monetizing your platform without any of that. And, I've been fortunate enough to, I don't, I do well whenever I want to turn it on. So, there's plenty of brands out there. It's not going to go away. AI is not throwing anything away, in that sense. And if your podcast grows and I have a podcast too. I haven't done it. Again, part of my deal is I got, that's going, part of some things that are changing next year that where I'm, as I go through this, I'm figuring out what I want to keep, what I don't, and I'm going to just get it right here. And I'm going to go, it's just going to fold right into my life. And, but podcasts, I did well with podcasts. But again, everything is different too. You guys, when I started a podcast, I had 650,000 followers on Instagram, and I had whatever plus million across all platforms, which is 1.6 now. And it's all different, just depending. But my point is, I had a built-in audience.
Yeah.
So, putting my clips on there, doing that and pushing people there, even though it drove down Instagram, doing that on Instagram. Again, they don't like to push that stuff out. They don't like you pushing people to other things, doing all that. So your stuff gets suppressed mostly. And then your people don't also like a lot of that either, because most of them don't care about your podcast. But when you have a big people to draw from, you can do it very lightly, and then you can get that attention. So I was a top 5 podcast right off the bat, with that attention. As far as, amount of watchers, all those statistics. But anyways, so there's all that. You can make money. You can go either way you want, but you guys, as you go through it, you just have to work through it and learn. There's no one way or another. And I am not being critical of those people. It's just that my mind was, and they also designed their platforms. When they came up, this is what they wanted to do. All of them, most of them, they all wanted to be somewhat of an influencer, or they came from a successful attention spot in a different sport or business or whatever. So they were able to transition like that. But most people, kind of that was made by design. I want to be this way. And then they wanted to create their universities and, and sell their certificates. You can become certified under me and all that. And look, and I want to say one more thing, and some of this maybe you put on social media if you want. I don't care anymore. But Tony Robbins. I remember back in the day there was, I loved Tony Robbins. I mean, Tony Robbins was, Awaken the Sleeping Giant kind of thing, all that kind of stuff. He was pushing a lot, and other people weren't. Of course, there was no social media back then. I went to one of his seminars at one point, dabbling through things. But what he says today in his seminars today is exactly what he said in 1984, except for what's the current.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the current whatever status of what's going on. Yeah.
And it's in that seminar is going to cost you an arm and a leg, and then all the things that get sold through it, and then all of the online coaching courses that, God forbid, you want to meet with Tony on one-on-one, you better be that person that has $1 gazillion.
Yeah.
He's helping a lot of people. That's great. Again, part of that is I don't want to do that. This was this. I didn't go into my world to do this. Plus, the other thing too, Sam, you're a young man. You're a young man. You guys can fail, and I suggest y'all fail all the damn time because that's the
Sure.
only way you want to learn fast.
Yep.
Start failing as fast as you can. You understand too. This came to me later in life unintentionally. So when it came, I didn't know what to do with it. I wasn't even thinking about what to do with it. And then when I did think about what to do with it, it's just because I felt pressure to think about what I'd do with it. Not blaming it or anybody's fault. My point is, I'm too old. I'm not interested in building some freaking thing. So yes, that's the kind of the different stuff you're dealing with. But the other thing too is the more attention you draw, the more positive attention you're going to get, and the more negative attention you're going to get, and the more people are going to come out of the woodwork to take advantage of you. And they don't give a crap about you. It's just facts. This is life. This is business. This is this world. Just like I think the entertainment world, from what I've been learning and things like that. But it's to get your audience. They don't give a crap about you. They just want to get in front of your audience.
I get that.
I'm not putting that as this is relates anything to what y'all are doing with me right now. But, I'm just saying that because I wouldn't have come on here if I even had that feeling or thought. But
Well,
it
that's
is an
good.
advantage. Well, look, it is an advantage that I promote this, with my people because it brings people. That's how you grow. If you're not thinking about that. But the problem is, I thought about you guys first. And if there's anything I can give you guys around that, if you want it, again, I just like when I set up my son's wedding and when I did my speech, and you get to the part, where you give him advice. I said, thank goodness for y'all, and I don't give advice anymore. So I'm not giving advice, but I'm just telling you what I've experienced and what I feel like, people pay attention to. And if you will always think, what the end goal is. So if you're wanting to help people and be a benefit to them, everything you design, if you do that first, all that other stuff is actually easier
That makes sense.
than if you tried to, we got to develop a new program. We got to come up with this that'll fit into all this. That could take forever and then, whatever. But if you're actually, or your heart is where it is, you're going to, and look, I listen to y'all. I just want to be very clear. This is what people will do with y'all. But I went last night and a little bit this morning. I watched, I went to YouTube. I listened to, a couple of your interviews and I went to your website. I listened to y'all's why. I listened to your whole video and watched y'all's mannerisms, your affect, and
We
went through
appreciate it.
all that stuff and what y'all were about. And I believe you right now.
We appreciate that.
Everybody
Thank you.
changes. That could be different 10 years from now, but right now I'm a believer in you guys. And again, I want to see you guys succeed because the goodness on social media, I've just been here a long time. This is my perspective. I'm not saying this is calculated what it is, but I feel like our space only has about that much.
Yep.
Out of that
If you can even put it that way, yeah.
The rest of it is
Yeah.
is what it is. And just the more that we can develop, stay in front of us. Because the other thing I believe in too, again, it's just me. When I've been through where I come from, everything I've been doing, just put together, and I am old.
You got a half a life to live, man. You said you're 60.
Agree.
I mean,
agree.
yeah,
I'm
you
working
got
on
a
that.
lot of years left. Yeah.
I agree. I tell my kids, you better be prepared. I'm shooting for 105.
Dude, imagine what you are right now.
And I said
all the
that's
years left you
being
have.
fully mentally cognitive. So beware.
Yeah.
But again,
The next chapter, Scott Tatum.
Yeah. So there, again,
Scott, we appreciate you, dude.
you guys are amazing.
I know we the time went quick. The time went really quick, and I feel like there's definitely some more we can dive into. Specifically, your book. I keep going back to it just because for people in general with this self-care journey or track, the space is overwhelming. I mean, it's just incredibly overwhelming, and maybe it's just my own personal, take on it, but you don't know where to go to. You don't know who's authentic. You don't know what's real. The stuff that you're stating is not reinventing, right, at all. Like, it's just, the basics of what we've been talking about on with other podcast guests and just in general what the Happy Atrium is all about. We're not reinventing anything. It's just, not to put the Goggins mentality, but put your own mentality into it where you have to live intentionally if you want to change. If you don't want to change, then as an individual, just, I don't even know why they're even listening to our show if they don't want to change, first off. But second off is people would rather just live every day because it's less painful, less energetic to just deal with the demons and let them take over, as opposed to just taking the bull by the horns and just be like, you know what, today I'm going to face the demon of laziness. And I'm going to get my ass out there and go walk in nature, because nature for you seemed to have been in a changeable, or one of the most biggest things in your life, right? That changed the way your mentality has been. It's one of our pillars is environmental, is making sure that you get out there daily in some shape or
Yeah, you got
fashion.
7 pillars, right?
We got 7 pillars. Yeah. And obviously
right, yeah.
not only does your philosophy hit, the environmental, but for sure mental, it can really hit all of them. A lot of people think the environment is spiritual for themselves, and it very well could be, right? You have people that believe in nature as their God. That's a whole nother discussion on that, but it's just the world of self-care. Man, it is it is an amazing world. There's so much that I want to get involved with you even more. Like I said, we can talk for hours, but I want to respect your time, and plus, all of our personal schedules and stuff.
Absolutely.
We would, if you decide to ever hit up the AT again, I would love the opportunity to come on the hike.
I just hiked.
Scott. I
just hiked a
this
portion of the Appalachian.
Yeah, I mean, like, let's
dude.
hit it from Pennsylvania. Like, Jared and I, we've talked about this with our buddies. We've always wanted to go at least from Pennsylvania up, and we've done most of Pennsylvania. We currently have 2 stations, or 2, whatever you want to call them, trailheads by us. Specifically, I live in Lehigh Valley, so you have one in Wind Gap, Delaware Water Gap area, and then you have also Blue Mountain trailhead. So 2 entrances easily that we can hop up and at least day hike with you, or maybe potentially even plan something where we go spend a couple weeks up on the AT from Pennsylvania up.
And I do want to validate something you said earlier, because I do have the statistics to back up things. People are just living their lives, and they are numb, or they're avoiding, distracting. They don't want to deal with stuff. That's why they're in everybody else's business. That's why, they're trying to fix. That's why everybody's living the way they're living.
Scott, we appreciate you, dude. Seriously. Thank you. The Self-Care Savage. We will look at our personal schedules and see if we can make that happen. If it doesn't happen, then for sure in the future, Scott, I want to create something with you. I think there's definitely some value there, and just
for sure,
honestly learning from you, and then us being able to maybe bring back a little bit of the childhood that we can instill in you. Hey,
I want to learn from you guys too.
Thank you so much for joining us in this episode of Oak Road Diaries. We really appreciate you, and we really, really do hope that it added even the tiniest bit of value to your life.
If you felt that the conversation resonated with you, we invite you to share it, because you really never know who needs to hear this today.
You can find more tools for intentional living and the 7 pillars of transformation at thehappyatrium.com, or connect with us on our socials at thehappyatrium. We'd love to see and interact with you there.
Until next time, keep tending to your inner child, one breath, one step, and one story at a time.
Take care, and we'll see you down the road.